Hello and welcome to the Spring 2015 anime season preview sort of thingy with me that I do every season that people like quite a bit for some reason, even though I'm just pretending like I know what I'm talking about. But whatever. This is a really big chart this season, so we're going to try and get through this quicker than usual. I'm going to try a couple things to speed this up. Hopefully it'll work, because normally my speeding up ideas don't tend to go over very well. But maybe this time it'll work. But before we start, there's one other thing I wanted to go over really quickly, is that how I'm going to cover this chart isn't going to be any different pretty much from how I normally do, but I am actually going to be picking up very few shows this season. Originally, I only wanted to pick up like 2 or 3, but it's going to probably be more like 7 or 8, just because I glanced at some of the shows already. Because I am very behind on shows due to various circumstances. I didn't finish a lot of the shows that have finished up already. I only finished like 3. And I'd like to catch up on those shows rather than just dropping all of them. So I'm trying to pick up very few shows this season so I can get caught up on those. So what I'm going to be doing is picking up those 7, 8 shows that I'm really interested in, and then all the others I'm going to play by ear. If I hear really good things about certain shows, I'll pick them up, which is what I normally do, but I'm placing a bit more emphasis on it this season. However, I will be covering this chart like I normally would. If it's a show I would normally have picked up if I wasn't doing this, I'll mention it. Stuff like that. Not that you should really care. These are mainly just for you to figure out what shows you want to see anyways. Which kind of defeats the purpose because I barely do any research on them. I should probably change that. Anyways, time to be unprofessional. Little disclaimer at the beginning as per usual. These are just my opinions going off of this brief synopsis and the promo image and such. So I can be wrong about my impressions on these shows. I have been wrong about my impressions on these shows. I've also been right on some of my impressions of these shows, though, so you never know what'll happen. Mainly just, I'll give my thoughts, use them if you want, but mainly just use, you know, this chart information to figure out if you want to pick up the show or not, yourself. So with that said, let's get right on into it, because we got quite a few to go through. The first thing we're going to do differently that I normally don't usually do is that we're actually going to skip the first entire row, because it's basically variations of kids-style shows, and normally I don't have much to say about them anyways, and no one really cares, and you can't really find them to watch them anyways, so what's the point of even covering them? So we're just going to skip the first entire row and head straight into I Can't Understand What My Husband Is Saying, the second season. Which I'm not going to read for because it's the second season. I didn't watch the first season, but I did hear good things. From what I heard, people who watched the first season of this actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So, cool. Here's the second season for you. It's, if I recall, they're just like 5-minute shorts. Maybe they're only like 2.5 minutes. I don't know. But it was a short. It's not like full length episodes. They're just short and fun and such. I think I said short like 4 times in that sentence. Jesus Christ. This is why I usually do scripts for reviews. Because otherwise I'd do things like that. So yeah, this is good for people who enjoyed that, which seemed like pretty much everybody who watched it, so that's awesome. Moving on, we have another sequel to, oh god, I can't even remember that. Orgairu, I think was the acronym people usually use. My fucking brain right now. I'm not gonna go over it again, because again, sequel. I heard things about it. It seemed like some people weren't really on board for it, but quite a few people actually did like it. It seems like a show, from what I've heard, it seems like a show I could probably like too, but I don't really have the time to pick up the first season or anything like that. But hey, that's, you know, it's the second season. If you enjoyed the second season, then, or enjoyed the first season, then here's the second season for you. So yeah, that'll be cool for people who like that. We're gonna move right along. Gotta get through all these shows. Like I said, you'll see, there's a lot of fucking shows this season. We have Recan, which is a new show. Hibiki Amami is a girl who can see, I couldn't tell if one was an N, is a girl who can see ghosts and other supernatural phenomena in her surroundings. The stories follow her daily life with both her friends and the otherworldly. It's interesting that this is very simple. The synopsis is really simple, but the art seems detailed enough that it's not like a handaway show, not like, I mean, it could be because the studio is Pierrot Plus, which I'm guessing is a subsidiary of Pierrot. But the art seems good enough that it doesn't seem like it could be a, you know, B-team style of project. But at the same time, decent amount of Pierrot shows look pretty good, so it could be. I have no idea. I like how vague the synopsis is, but at the same time, it's like a double-edged sword. It's vague enough that it can be interesting to see what's going on with it and what it has ideas to do, but it's also vague to the point that it's like you can't really get engaged because you don't have enough information. It's not a show I'd pick up. It's one of those shows I would watch based on reception if people say good things about it and such. So, that's just me. Moving on, we have, oh Jesus Christ, Mahou Shoujo Lyrical Nanoho Vivid. Which I don't even know if it's a sequel or a side story or an alternate universe or what the fuck ever. I guess I'll read the synopsis. 4 years after the JS incident, Vivio Takamachi enters the 4th elementary grade at St. Hilde Academy of Magic. She has since learned to conjure her adult form at will and received her own device, Sacred Heart, from Nanoha, who made her promise to never use either of the two for mischief. However, a real danger soon arises in the form of a mysterious magical fighter, Heidi E.S. Ingvald, who named herself after an ancient Belkan ruler and now targets both Vivio and Expelia. I like the names. They're like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I'm just gonna drop that. I've considered getting into magical, you know, lyrical Nanoha, whatever, a couple times, but I've never really just got around to it. I don't know. Here's what I know about Nanoha. From someone who's never watched it, I never really looked up much on it either. This is just pure what I've gotten from glances at things, osmosis, and things like that. What I believe Nanoha is about is the girl Nanoha is a magical girl, and she does attacks that are like stuff. Like, a lot of people like it because the magic fights are like really cool and detailed and shit like that. It looks very nice. There's stuff about magical girls happening, and then by like the 3rd season, she hooked up with the blonde, and it became like a lesbian story, and then they like adopted kids, and this is them or something. I don't know if any of that's accurate at all, but from someone who's never watched it and just glanced at things about it and, you know, osmosis and stuff, that's what I think the series is about. So, I don't know if I'm accurate at all, but this seems like a show that you probably shouldn't watch unless you've seen Nanoha already. So if you haven't, you probably want to skip it, I guess. I don't know. It may be written in a way that you can watch it anyways, but it seems like one of those shows that you probably want to have knowledge of the series to get into it. But that, again, I don't fucking know. I don't know about Nanoha at all, so hey. Moving on, we have, oh god, what was the English title? Is it rude of me to pick up girls while in a dungeon? Or something like that. The story takes place in the town of Labyrinth, Orario, also called Dungeon. Belle Cradle is a newbie adventurer that admires having a fateful meeting with a person of the opposite gender. One day during an adventure, he is attacked by a minotaur. Close to destruction, he is saved by a top-class female adventurer, her name's Eyes. He falls in love with her at first sight and begins actions to become an adventurer that is on her level. He later encounters Hestia, a god called a Lolita god due to her stature, who falls in love with him. It seems a bit, just based on that, like it could be one of those typical trashy shows, especially with a title like, Is It Wrong of Me? Or, I don't know if it's wrong or rude of me to pick up girls while in a dungeon. But it could also be one of those, like, ones that's self-aware, and so it's poking fun of itself at the same time, which are pretty fun shows. So, I have no idea. I've heard both ends of the spectrum. I've heard people looking at it and being like, this is the dumbest shit ever. It's the next stupid harem bullshit no one cares about. And then I've heard people on the other spectrum say it's tons of fun and they're excited for the anime, and, I have no idea. Which is extremely unhelpful, I'm well aware. But, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's one of those shows that if you should probably either keep an ear out for if people say good things about it, or if you want to give it a shot, if you have the time to check it out, you can check it out yourself and see which side of the spectrum it falls on. At least that's what I would do. Moving on, we have The Disappearance of Yuki Nagano. I was like, what's the English title again? And as if it was that hard to remember. The spin-off of the Haruhi Suzumiya series takes place in the world of the Disappearance arc of the original novels, focusing on the high school life and romance of a tentative and bashful Yuki Nagano, quite unlike the one you've come to know and love through the usual exploits of the SOS Brigade, but no less charming. I've said my thoughts on the Disappearance movie. Everyone hates me for it, but I don't care. Because that's just how I view it. I mean, I've said I don't understand. It's getting in a little bit soapbox mode. I don't understand how you can like a character for, you know, very specific reasons, you know, for their character, and then they just completely fucking change their character and still like them. Like, they're not even the same person, really. It's a completely different character. I just, whatever. I'm me. Heart of stone or whatever, I guess, and shit like that, I guess, you know, whatever. Obviously, I'm very uninterested in this. What's fun is I'm sure it's gonna get a lot of shit anyways, even from people who liked the Disappearance movie, simply because the animation studio is FateStay Night. People are that shallow that simply because KyoAni isn't doing it, they're gonna hate on it. Which, to be fair, KyoAni is really good at animation. You know, they're some of the best when it comes to animation. I would argue that there are other studios better at art, but as far as animation goes, KyoAni is one of the best. And obviously, well, not obviously, but FateStay Night probably won't be able to match up to that. But the thing is, people aren't going to dislike this because the animation isn't as good as KyoAni's. They're going to hate it because the characters don't look the same. And I shouldn't say things like that. I mean, not everyone's going to be like that. I'm not saying every single person who watches it's going to be like that. And people who dislike it are just for those reasons. But you're going to get quite a few of those people. This happens all the fucking time. Whenever, like, a show that KyoAni should be doing, like, hey, do you guys remember Little Busters and how much fun that was when JC Staff was doing it? And how people wouldn't shut the fuck up about how they sucked and KyoAni would do such a better job? That was fun. Can you not wait to hear about it again? I'm sure it'll happen again with this. But who knows, I could be surprised. You know, you never know. Anyways, moving on, we have Vampire Holmes. The story of the original game takes place in London, shrouded in night, where vampire slasher incidents have been happening in the streets. The player must work with Holmes, a detective who does not solve mysteries and does not use reasoning skills to investigate a suspicious mansion and learn the truth. It seems like it's a bit of a fun spin on the Sherlock Holmes and typical story elements you'd get in a Victorian England setting kind of blended together. Which could be fun. This is one of the shows I actually do kind of want to pick up, regardless of not trying to pick up a lot of shows, but I'm not going to, like, jump in on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait and listen to see what people say about it, and if it's a show that people are largely skipping on so I don't have anything to hear about it, then I'll pick up the first episode and see what I can gauge off of it. But hopefully I can hear enough about what other people are saying about it to pick it up. And hopefully it's not super bland responses like, it's okay. It's like, that doesn't do anything for me. So, yeah. I don't know if I said anything helpful this show. just what my thoughts on it were. Anyways, moving on. Well, I mean, I could say... Not moving on. I could say that it's adapted from a game. I don't know what game. I don't know what the Vampire Holmes game is. Is it like a 3DS game? Is it a mobile game? Is it a web game? I have no clue. Normally I have some idea of what type of game it is, but I don't. I have no fucking clue what game this is based off, so... Maybe it'll defy convention and be a good video game anime adaptation. I don't know. Anyways, moving on, we have Shokugeki no Soma, which I used to know the English title for, but I forgot. The story centers on Soma, who works with his dad at his family's restaurant. His dad is a culinary master, and he often hosts cooking battles with his father. His father then enrolls him in an elite culinary school that is very difficult to enter, and the graduation rate is only about 10%. This is a very liked series. A lot of people have read this and they like it a lot, and weirdly enough, its rise to fame is that the art for the manga is done by a guy who also draws porn. So that, I guess simply, what happened is probably they heard that he was doing the art for it and they were like, what? And so they checked it out and then they started to get engaged in the story and characters and such like that, and that's how it got the reception it has now. So, this is a show that, enough people have said good things about that I do kind of want to check it out, but I'm a little wary. So I'm not going to pick it up at first, and I'm going to listen for people to watch it who have not read the manga and see what they think. And if they kind of largely match up with the manga reader saying, oh, it's pretty good, then I'll pick it up. But otherwise, I'm just going to leave it off to the side for now and see how reception goes. Moving on, we have the fucking quadrillionth entry into the Jewel Pet series. If you like Jewel Pet, here's fucking Jewel Pet and shit. Moving on, we have... I'm sorry, but there really isn't much to say. Next, we have PreFarah, which is a sequel to the PreFarah TV series, which I'm sure I've covered in a previous chart, but I don't even remember because it looks like every other fucking Jewel Pet and shit series I've already seen before. I kind of like the colors. They're very bright. Her fucking skirt is, like, glowing. It's, like, neon. I kind of like that. Anyways, if you watch that, here's the sequel. If you haven't, which I'm sure a lot of people haven't because I barely even hear about it, then... Very helpful, I know. Moving on, we have Kyokai Know Rin. As a child, Sakura Mamiya mysteriously disappeared in the woods behind her grandma's home. She returned whole and healthy, but since then she has had the power to see ghosts. Now a teenager, she... Okay, I got confused for a second. Now a teenager, she just wishes the ghosts would leave her alone. At school, the desk next to Sakura's has been empty since the start of the school year. Then one day, her always absent classmate Rin, Rokuda, shows up, and he's far more than what he seems. My first interest in this is how the art style is very similar to older style anime, like, Ranma. It looks very similar to that, which it could be adapted from a manga that's as old as Ranma, so it's very possible that that's the case here. But it's nice that they kind of match that. It's not enough for me to really care that much, not to mention it's being done by Brainspace, who are very, very well known for being very, very slow. The pacing of their shows tends to be a snail's crawl, which could fit. There are certain shows that fit that pacing, but it's one of those things where I don't want to pick it up at first. I want to hear what people are saying, because I remember the last Brains-based show I watched, or at least the last major one I remember. I got like 5 episodes into it, and then I just kind of sat there and I realized that nothing of significance had happened in those 5 episodes, and then I dropped it. What was it? Psychic Detective Yakumo? God, I was actually interested in that synopsis, and then 5 episodes in, I was like, I don't even know what the fuck's happening. Is there anything happening? And then I dropped it. Anyways, just a fun little story, I guess. So I'll listen out, I'll hear if there's good things about this. Even if there are good things about it, I may not pick it up. A show like this, I'd probably need to hear, like, overwhelming positive response to pick it up. Because, again, being cautious with Brains-based shows. They've done good shows, it's just, nowadays they haven't done too much, so, you know. Which doesn't mean much. Again, animation studios hardly matter, it's the staff that do, but it's too easy to judge things by their studio. It's easy because a lot of staff tend to recurringly work at specific studios, so it's easy to just group them with the studio, so that's why. But a lot of staff members have worked at tons of different studios, so it's really, you shouldn't really judge something by the studio. I'm fully acknowledging this, but I'm also going to fully acknowledge that I'm going to do it anyways, because it's hard not to. I mean, I could, maybe next chart I'll actually do some research and I'll like type out the staff members of shows and like on like a notepad or something that I can work off of for each thing, and I'll go off of that. That'll be so much work, but it'll be way more helpful probably, so maybe I should do it. It would probably be a good idea. Oh god, but it would take me like 3 times longer to get this out. I don't know. Maybe I should just ask if you guys want to, do you guys want a more in-depth season preview? If you do, then I'll give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. If you guys don't really care and you're fine with this format of me just rambling about whatever the fuck I'm talking about and I don't know what I'm saying, then we'll just keep doing this. All I'll say is difference-wise, obviously one will have more information and take longer for me to do, and then the other one doesn't. It's just a matter of which one you'd prefer, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, moving on, we have Depakyoshi, a young words. The story centers around Jinichiro, a young man obsessed with manga, anime, and games. He was a young genius who published papers in the journals Nature and Science when he was only 17. However, after graduating college, he became a NEET, absorbed in his anime blog. Nice. Unable to watch Kagami throw away his life, his sister Suzune gets him to work at the Ichigo Academy she attends. The head of the school's board, Kyomi Hiragi, assigns Kagami to his new life as a teacher. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I was an anime blogger for 2 years before I started doing YouTube videos. Maybe it was 3. It may have even been 3 years. I think it was 2 though. So I've been in both communities. I mean, this is kind of going off track here, but I've been, in both communities, which is very interesting. The anime blog community and the anime YouTube community is pretty different in a lot of ways. Like, for example, I don't know why I'm going off topic with this. I'll just give one example. The anime blogging community is largely in agreement that, key stuff is, overblown melodrama and Clannad sucks and shit like that, and are largely in agreement with that. And then the anime YouTube community loves the shit out of, Key and Clannad, which is a fascinating difference. Just how different the communities view one work. Like, as far as the anime blogging community goes, I was light on the Clannad series. maybe that's why people had such a negative reaction to the things I said, because it was harsh in for them, but to me it was me being light. That could be why. Anyways, that was way off topic. I'm just saying that it's cool. He's, you know, I can relate because he's neat absorbed in an anime blog. I know that. I've been absorbed in my anime blog. But there's not really enough here that engages me enough plot-wise. Like, it's got the setting and, like, here's how the story is set up, but it's not really a gauge of what's going to happen and, you know, stuff like that. It's hard to get a read on that, so, it's not really, you know, enough for me to say, oh, I want to pick this up. Again, like everything else, I'll keep an ear out, and when people say good things, I'll give it a go, if they say good things. But we'll see. I don't know. Next, we have No Seraph, first season. The story takes place in a world where an unknown virus has killed the entire human population except for children. Those children were then enslaved by vampires. Yuichiro Hyakuya, a human, dreams of becoming strong enough to kill all vampires. The anime will run 2 split quarters of the year, from April to June, and then from October to December. It's nice that they're announcing right away how the airing is going to work. Obviously, the first thing right off the bat that's interesting about this is being done by Wit Studio, the guys you know who did Attack on Titan. And then they also did, oh god, what was it? Hozuki no Urotetsu, which no one fucking watched. Or maybe they did, but they just dropped it. I actually dropped it too. I wanted to finish it, but I just couldn't do it. And then, didn't they also do, I think they did Rolling Girls last season, I'm pretty sure. I like how Wit Studio is dabbling in everything. They're dabbling in a little bit of everything, different styles of writing. I really appreciate that. I do. It means that they're not going to get hits all the time. I mean, they could. But if you're going to, you know, vary off of, you know, go out of your, not really going out of their comfort zone, but they're going to just, you know, branch out and do a bunch of different things. I like that. I like when studios are adventurous and such. So, I appreciate that, which is why this is actually one of the few shows I'm going to pick up. Because I want to support that. I mean, me watching it doesn't really support them that much, but I want to watch it, and if it's good, I want to be, you know, get the word out about it. You know, because I appreciate a studio that's willing to, you know, dabble in a little bit of everything, which is cool. Plus, it's a split core thing, so even if I fall behind on it somehow, even with the few I'm trying to pick up, then I have time to catch up on it again before it airs the second core, which is nice. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do. It could be kind of bland and generic, you know, there's not much to go off with the promo image here. It could be just kind of standard, you know, what's a who's it, which I don't know. Again, there's only so much you can do with just a synopsis and a cover art, but I want to give it a shot. I do. I'm interested to see how they do. Moving on, we have High School DXD almost said Reborn. High School DXD Born, sequel to the High School DXD new TV series. So this is the 3rd season, I believe, of High School DXD. If you liked the previous seasons of High School DXD and you're excited for the next season of High School DXD, here's High School DXD. I keep wanting to say DND, like Dungeons and Dragons, because that's the obvious reference, but it's an X. Maybe I should just say DD. That's another way of doing it. Meh. I'll just do DXD. So yeah, here's the 3rd season of that if you want it. Moving on, we have Gunslinger Stratos. The story takes place in the year 2115, when the country once known as Japan was split into 2 alternate future powers, the lawless Frontier S and totalitarian 17th Far East Capital Administrative Zone. The 2 possible futures begin to fuse into one, so each side battles to wipe out the other and survive. I'm interested in this because there's usually one A1 picture show each season that is that I like quite a bit. That they do, and this seems like it'll be the one for this season. I mean, for all I know, it could turn out to be that fucking Denpa Kyoshi show. But they generally do one more serious kind of ish show that they each season. Like them, I mean, I've enjoyed their adaptations of Magi. I enjoyed their adaptation of 7 Deadly Sins, which I still need to finish, but I have enjoyed what I've seen of it so far. I think the only thing that's wary about this to me is the fact that it's adapted from a game. So, again, it's another one of those things where I don't know what the game was, if it was a console game, if it was a DS game, if it was a web game, I have no idea. But it's interesting enough that I want to give it a shot. if it's, you can usually tell when something's a bad game adaptation very quickly, so if that's the case, I can always just drop it very quickly. But I am interested in the setting and the fact that, you know, it seems there's some genuine stakes, and the only genres listed are action and sci-fi, which, you know, it could turn out to be false. I mean, it's not like genres have been, you know, mistaken before, but, I don't know, I'm just interested in it. I like A1 Pictures lately, they've been doing good stuff. I like it. So I'll give it a go, and if it's neat, then it's neat. Very helpful, Riyoga. Thanks. Thanks for your wonderful fucking opinions. Anyways, moving on, we have FateStay Night Unlimited Blade Works second season, which is the second core of, you know, Unlimited Blade Works, which has already been going. For those of you who don't know, I dropped the show. I know that's going to get a lot of people angry at me for saying that, but I was fucking bored. I think I got, how many episodes in did I get? It was episode 8 or 9, which is technically episode 9 or 10 because of episode 0, which actually would technically be episode 10 or 11 because episode 0 was an hour long. Actually, I think episode 1 was also an hour long. So basically, like, half a fucking season, like 13 episodes worth of content went by, and I was just bored. I just didn't care. It feels, I don't know what it is about FateStay Night. Like, I enjoy Fate Zero enough. I don't enjoy it as much as a lot of people. I do like the Rider Waver story a lot in Fate Zero. I think it's amazing. But FateStay Night, I'm not engaged. It feels very video game-ish more so than Fate Zero. Like, Fate Zero felt like actual characters arguing, and the fact that they didn't actively fight a lot was nice. Like, the heroes would get together and talk about things, and it fleshed them out. A lot of people would argue about, you know, it being exposition dumps and things like that, but I like dialogue and stuff, as long as it's well written. I mean, you can have bad dialogue. It fleshes out characters, you get to know them more. And with this, the only time heroes really ever interact outside of, you know, Saber and Archer, because of, a very loose pact between, you know, Shiro and Rin is, you know, like, none of the other heroes talk to each other or really care or anything. They're just there to be the heroes and do the fighting and such. And even then, they're not that interesting. I mean, I don't, it's hard to explain just off the top of my head. I would have to write a script out, as I have to do with basically every show. Maybe I'll do a video on it and explaining more about my issues with FateStay Night and such, but I don't know. I mean, I can see why people like FateStay Night Unlimited Blade Works. It's very pretty. I still think that the animation in and of itself isn't anything special. I mean, particle effects are nice and all, but the directing in and of itself is just dull. Like, the fights aren't that exciting because it's just a lot of really fast swinging with the slash animation and the particle effects, and I mean, sure, it's fast and hectic and such, but it's not really engaging because there's no real choreography there. So, you know, that's just me though. That's me. Everyone will just call me a grumpy Gus and such, but you know. Anyways, point is, you know, if you're still watching it and you've been excited for more, here it is. I might actually jump on for the ending because I've seen the Unlimited Blade Works movie from Dean. Everyone's gonna, like, laugh about that. And I do like some of the later elements that pop out from Unlimited Blade Works. The story of Unlimited Blade Works is better than the main route. I'll give you that. But the main differences don't really appear until near the end. So I might drop in for that just to see the art of it. Because, I mean, I do like good art, you know, in certain cases, you know, like, I can't help it, it's pretty. But, you know, I'm just not that interested outside of that. But if you are, that's awesome, you know, here you go, here's the second core. I've spent way too much time on this, I need to move the hell on. Next we have Plastic Memories. Androids that look exactly like humans begin to spread across the world. The android production company SA Corp produced Giftia, a new kind of android that has the most amount of emotion and human-like qualities out of any other model ever seen. However, the androids have a service life, and once they pass that, things get pretty bad. For this reason, SA Corp creates a terminal service in order to retrieve Giftia that have gone past their service life. A new employee at the terminal service named Tsukasa Mizugaki forms a team with the Giftia Isla to retrieve the other androids, but this is another one of the few shows that I'm picking up for a couple reasons. One is that it reminds me a lot of Chobits, which is gonna make people laugh. They're like, you're picking it up because it reminds you of Chobits. Yes, I know, Chobits hasn't really aged that well. If I actually watched it nowadays, I probably wouldn't like it as much as I did when I first watched it. But it seems like thematically it's going to be very similar to Chobits, which I liked. Probably more than the show itself, honestly. But it's also being done by Dogakobo, which did a few seasons ago Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun. Which means that I'm going to watch their stuff. This is what happens every time. A studio puts out a show that I really, really enjoy, and then I get really happy and, you know, like, I love that show. And then I watch, like, every show they put out after that until they put out a bad show, and then I'm just like, they suck now. And then I stop watching them. This is how it goes every single time. Whatever. But, those are the reasons I actually do really want to pick it up. And it looks pretty. I like the coloring. Like, you can't see too much of it in this promo image, but, like, you can see behind the characters, they're in, like, an amusement park sort of thing. And the colors and such they use are very pretty. I like it. So I want to pick it up because it seems nice. And I like the title, Plastic Memories. I mean, I don't know too much about the story other than the synopsis, but it seems that plays really well into what the story is, which is nice. I'm glad. I mean, nowadays we have too many titles like My Little Sister Can't Possibly Be This Cute and Is It Rude to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon and stuff like that. So it's nice to see a classic kind of style title that ties in thematically with what's going on, like Plastic Memories. So I like that. Also, it's an original work. It's not adapted from anything. So Dogakobo's taken their Nozaki-kun money. I don't know how much money they made off of Nozaki-kun, but I do like that it's an original show too. Just because it's original doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, but I do like that, I do like when a studio makes an original work because they're going out on a limb, really, because it's not an established IP of anything. So it could end up being very good for them or very bad for them. And I like to see which way it goes. So I'm excited for this. I'm actually really excited for this. This is probably the original, outside of sequels, this is probably the show I'm most excited for this season. Unless I've forgotten one, which we'll find out.